Mama, welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Gibbs, and this podcast exists to help scholarly mamas like you to achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters most. Here, we're changing the overwhelm, juggle, struggle narrative around what it means to be a mama on an academic journey to one of empowerment, fulfillment, and purposeful success. So how do we successfully navigate these journeys? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Let's begin by saying yes to creating a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, because that's when we truly become purposefully whole. So get ready for the most non-traditional, unconventional, and revolutionary approach to PhD motherhood, because one thing I have learned over my many years of experience on this journey is that if you want something different, you have to do something different. But you must be brave enough to think differently first. So, Mama, are you in? Fabulous! Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. Hey mamas, welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, I really wanted to circle back to something that I brought up in last week's episode. If you haven't listened to episode 80, make sure you pop over to episode 80 after listening to this episode. It is full of gems. We had Lynn from Research with Lynn on the episode talking specifically about how to manage maternity leave, how to navigate maternity leave as a PhD mama. And so if you haven't listened to that episode, you are definitely missing out. People seem to have really enjoyed it and it resonated with our listeners. And so please do head over back to the episode when you're finished with this one. But one of the things that came up in that episode, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that. And then I wanted to also talk about why it is important as a scholarly mama, as a mama who's doing a PhD, to really focus on the journey and not the destination. And it's a cliche thing. You hear it all the time, focus on the journey, enjoy the journey. But there are really key reasons why this mindset shift is very important. I'll get into those later on in this episode. So let's circle back to what came up in last week's episode. But just before we get into that, I just really want to ask you a huge favor. If you wouldn't mind leaving a review after you've listened to this podcast on your favorite podcasting app, I and many other listeners would appreciate that so much. Thank you in advance. Okay, let's get into the episode. So what I really wanted to get into in today's episode, which I mentioned in last week's episode, was the importance of really holding your head up and seeing the light. So let me just give this little bit of context. As I mentioned in that episode, we recently came back from Barbados. We went to Barbados during the summer for a holiday. It was amazing. It was so much fun because the last time we went there, we all ended up with COVID. It was a holiday of isolation. We didn't get to see a lot of our family and it was really hard for us. So this time going back and really just immersing ourselves in the connections, the family, the outings, the events, all the things, it was just amazing. It was a perfect do-over. So one of the things that we did when we were in Barbados was that we went to the Animal Flower Cave. And as I mentioned in last week's episode, it's a dark cave. When we saw the stairs to enter this cave, I was like, oh my goodness, I have never seen such steep stairs. They were so steep. And I held on. We went down, slowly, took our time. My dad was with us, the boys, my husband, Kevin. We all took our time, went down the stairs and into this cave. As we got into the cave, you can immediately feel this sense of separation, I guess, from the outside world. The cave is literally on the edge of the island, essentially, the edge of the land mass, and on the seafront or the ocean front, essentially. And it's dark, it's wet, it's secluded. It's hidden away. It's essentially a hideaway. And it feels like you are totally cut off from civilization, right? Because the only thing that you can hear down there really is the sound of the ocean crashing against the rocks, reminding you that it's really you against the elements down there. And if that wasn't enough, you look around and realize that there's really not many ways out of this cave. In fact, our guide told us that when the tide is really high, the cave is actually flooded with seawater to the point where the seawater actually emerges straight out of those stairs. So those steep stairs at the entrance to the cave, that becomes an exit for the influx of water when the tide is really high and the cave is full of water. And so there's a lot of moisture in there. Because of the moisture, the rocks are really mossy and at times a little bit slippery. And so really, when you enter that cave, the first thing that you kind of notice, because you're obviously walking on different rocks and making your way through, is you really feel this need to focus on the ground, to really look down, look where you're going, make sure you're not stepping on something really slippery and falling and hurting yourself and injuring yourself. And so you're looking down and the cave feels dark. It feels really dark and it feels damp and dark. And as you progress through this cave and you're looking to move forward, what you do is you begin to notice what's around you. You begin to notice that just in front of you, there's a window almost to the ocean. And when you look through that hole, it's a huge opening. When you look through that opening, you see how much light is actually coming into the cave. Suddenly, this dark, wet cave opens up. It feels like, oh my goodness, there's light at the end of this cave. There's light at the end of this tunnel. And it reminded me a lot of doing a PhD as a mama. You know, you're so focused on the things that are right in front of you, the steps that you're taking right in the moment. And you are not actually looking around to see the light, to hold your head up from that and actually notice the light. And so it feels dark. It feels all encompassing. It feels overwhelming. It feels isolating because, you feel the pressure to really focus on the things that are right in front of you. Now, there's nothing wrong with focus. There is a place for focus because at the end of the day, you want to get this job done. You want to get this PhD done. And in order to do that, there will be times where you've got to focus. And speaking of focus, or should I say, speaking of the importance of creating that focus time, shameless plug for Scholarly Mama's Focus, or purposeful co-working space. If you are looking to really get stuff done purposefully and really without distraction, without procrastination, join Scholarly Mama's Focus. Join us in one of our co-working sessions. You won't regret it. Anyway, coming back to the point that when you are in that cave and you are so focused on looking down and feeling more and more isolated, feeling like nobody gets this, feeling like you're surrounded by darkness, feeling like you're going nowhere fast, you really miss the beauty of the cave. You lose out on the breathtaking views from that window to the ocean. Suddenly, everything, when you hold your head up, everything opens up. Suddenly, this new perspective helps everything make sense. You become clearer about where you are going. You become clearer about what this journey is really all about. It's amazing what light can do. It is amazing how, where there is light, there cannot be darkness. It just is an impossibility. This is so much like scholarly motherhood, right? When you hold your head up, when you interact with other people who are navigating this journey, when you are intentional about those interactions, when you actually get past your imposter syndrome, get past your fear of the unknown, get past your fear of even asking for help, the fear of reaching out for help, reaching out for support, you realize, you hold your head up and you realize that actually there's so much beauty in this journey and you never had to be perfect to be purposeful. Being perfect is not a requirement to be purposeful. You're going to slip and slide on the rocks. You're going to reach some points along the way that the climb is really hard. There are going to be some times where it's going to be a little slippery, right? But it's okay to lift your head up, because that's when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's when you can see a path forward through this dark cave that you're in at the moment. And trust me, I know a thing or two about being in a dark cave because I have been there, right? I began a PhD as a mama of 1 and finished my PhD as a mama of 3. It was hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It was hard. But I would never have gotten through it if I'd just kept my head down in the darkness. Never have gotten through it. I needed to lift my head up. I needed to look around and really treasure and value the things that were around me that mattered to me. Really engage with those things. Really be intentional about those things. I'm really sorry. There's like literally a gardener outside keeping loads of noise, but this is real life, right? So I'm not going to pause this podcast just for that. I hope you don't mind if you can hear it, that is. So one of the things that, as I said, this episode is all about focusing on the journey and not the destination. And it's so interesting because I was reflecting on both that metaphor of the cave and what that meant for me and my experience in the Animal Flower Cave in Barbados. By the way, if you're ever in Barbados, head over to the Animal Flower Cave. It is amazing. And no, they have not paid me to say that. It's just a nice experience, right? Anyway, so as I was reflecting on this idea of the journey and not the destination, I also began to really focus on the number one thing that really keeps you back when you are navigating a PhD journey as a mama. And it's this idea of, when I achieve my PhD goal, I will fill in the blanks. When my PhD is done, I will fill in the blanks, right? This is the mindset that keeps you stuck. This is the mindset that keeps mamas who are intelligent, ambitious, purposeful mamas feeling like they are not good enough, feeling like they cannot enjoy their lives, feeling like they've got to put their lives on hold because they're doing a PhD. And when you focus on the destination, when you focus on, when I finish my PhD, I'm going to achieve this. When I finish my PhD, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get back to real life. I'm going to reintroduce myself to my family. When you have that mindset, here is what happens. You begin to see success as the destination. So finishing the PhD means that you're successful, right? When you hit that goal, you are successful. Now, I am not saying that we shouldn't be goal-driven, that we shouldn't pursue goals. Trust me, I will be the last person on earth to say that, because I am goal-driven. I am purpose-driven, but I am also somebody who sets goals for myself and who works very hard to pursue them. So I am not saying that there's anything at all wrong with setting goals. My issue is when you see achieving the goal as being equivalent to being successful. And when that equivalence becomes reality for you, where it's so non-negotiable for you that you are willing to sacrifice absolutely anything in order to achieve it. That is where this obsession with achieving the destination, reaching the destination, becomes problematic. Because here's the thing, when you see success as the destination, that leads to a fixed mindset. You don't see growth outside of that. You don't see purpose outside of that. You don't see success outside of that. Your mindset is so fixed on achieving that goal that nothing else matters. So there's no room for growth, right? There's no room for growth. It's boxed thinking. You fit into a certain box. Oh, when I am this, I fit into that box. When I achieve that, I'm going to be good enough for that box. It's boxed thinking. And this predetermined trajectory means that those goals become inflexible. There's no flexibility whatsoever in you achieving that goal. And so I want to challenge this thinking with a question, right? What if success was actually found in the journey, in the throes of PhD motherhood, in the roller coaster ride that this is, in the depths of scholarly motherhood? What if the secret to success and the gateway to it was actually in the journey itself? Just like that beautiful window to the ocean in the cave. What if all you needed was to hold your head up and embrace this new perspective? What if? And I wanted to challenge you because I've lived this, right? I've been there, feeling the overwhelm, feeling the pressure and the stress and the darkness of being stuck in the juggle struggle, being buried in the throes of it. And the reality is that you're not alone if you feel like this. You're not alone if you feel that the only path to success is self-sacrificial, to give your all, to neglect everything else and just focus on this particular part of your journey. And when I was brave enough to think differently, to take a different approach, I realized that I needed to lift my head out of that sand. I needed to, not be ashamed of all the other hats that I wear, not be ashamed to do the things I love and, pursue things that bring me joy, even while I was on this journey. And this really helped me to not just see and believe, but to experience the reality that success is the journey, mama. The success that you seek is not in the destination. It is in the journey itself. And the reason why I say this is really because when you see success as a journey, this creates a growth mindset. This opens your mind to the possibilities of everything that you will gain and learn and accomplish on the way to the goal. So it then creates opportunities for actual growth and development, personal growth and development, really, along the way. So you are not waiting until you achieve this goal to grow in other areas of your life, to develop yourself, to reflect on what your actual learning needs are, to focus on developing certain skills that you have. You are doing this along the way. And what this really helps you to do is embrace your wholeness, right? You're creating an environment for yourself that honors that wholeness, that embraces it, that supports it, that is not ashamed of that, and that allows you to grow in so many other areas of your life. It creates an out-of-box thinking experience. So you are not fixated and fixed on these boxes that you are trying to fit yourself into. Instead, you're opening up your mind to the possibility and giving yourself the permission to explore. Essentially, you are creating your own boxes. You are clear on what matters to you, and you are defining success for yourself. So your goals become more flexible. Not that you don't have goals, not that you don't set goals, but you are open to the possibility of redefining those if you need to, or reprioritizing certain elements of your life in certain seasons, right? So it just opens everything up. And this then allows you to have a journey that is free of regret, because you are able to understand yourself so deeply that you know fully for yourself what success looks like for you. And let me tell you, that matters. That matters right now, because I know that you probably can't envision it at the moment. You can't imagine being at the end of this journey. You can't even imagine being at the destination, but you will get there. You are going to arrive at that destination. And when you do, there will be nothing worse than looking back on that journey completely full of regrets. There'll be nothing worse. And so I really think that this mindset shift is so key that I believe every scholarly mama needs to consider it. Success, mama, is in the journey itself. Finding joy in the journey is so important for scholarly mamas, because that is the difference between sacrificing everything to achieve a goal that becomes anticlimactic and actually enjoying life along the way, not sacrificing the things that really matter to you, the things that are important in this life, just for the sake of the goal. You can achieve the goal. And believe me, mama, I am here to cheer you on your way to that goal. I want you to win, but I want you to win where it matters, because when you win where it matters, everyone wins. So even if we go back to this metaphor of the cave, which I mentioned at the top of this episode, when you see your scholarly mama success as being the journey of scholarly motherhood, the journey of PhD motherhood, you are actually able to lift your head up, look around, and appreciate the beauty of what's around you. Appreciate the people who are on this journey with you. Your kids, your spouse, your family members, people who love you. You are not only able to invest in these relationships and these connections that nourish you and uplift you, but you are also encouraged and empowered to invest in yourself, to invest in the asset of all of this, to invest in the person who is on the journeys of becoming. You are finally able to look around and let the light in. You holding your head down and navigating this journey as a hermit in total darkness, it's seeing success as a destination. Oh, when I get to the destination, oh, when I achieve my goal, oh, when I finish my PhD, I'll then lift my head up and look around. For me, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I know that's not the case for everyone. At the end of the day, you do you. But for me, there was so much joy, so much meaning, so much purpose, so much satisfaction in lifting my head up and really enjoying my journey. Because the cost of not doing so, the cost of keeping my head buried in darkness was way too high. Way too high. It simply was not a price I was willing to pay. So instead, I focused on the journey. That meant I was able to grow my family during that time. It meant I was able to develop other skills during that time. It meant I could work on other projects that I wanted to work on during that time. Because for me, the success was in the journey itself. The destination, reaching the goal at the end, that's the bonus. That's the icing on the cake, right? That's not the only valuable thing about being a scholarly mama. It's an identity shift. Becoming a scholarly mama is an identity shift. Now, if you are ready to make that kind of mindset shift, then you are in the right place. this is all about thriving in PhD motherhood. That's what we're about here. Notice it's not thriving in the PhD. It's not thriving in academia. It's thriving in scholarly motherhood. The very act of having that dual identity is the essence of being a scholarly mama. And it means that we can see past the titles and the accolades. We can go deeper. We can understand really what the purpose of this journey really is. And we can still finish well, but we're not prepared to do that at the expense of the things that really matter to us, because we understand that real life is multidimensional. We understand that we can be successful in our PhDs and we can be present mamas as well. That is the identity shift. That is the mindset change that is needed if you want to become a purposeful scholarly mama. Are you ready for that, mama? If you are, come join us inside Scholarly Mamas. And if you need help in getting to that point, if you need help in transforming this journey so that you can begin to equip yourself with the tools that you need to thrive on this journey, check out Scholarly Mamas Optimum, which is my one-on-one coaching program. I am ready to help you. I'm ready to support you through this because I know what it's like to be in the trenches. I know what it's like to feel surrounded by darkness and nobody understands what this journey feels like. I understand the overwhelm of carrying the burden of so many hats, wearing so many hats and juggling so many things. I get it. But I also know that there is a better way to navigate this journey. I also know that you want to finish well without sacrificing the things that matter to you. And so if that resonates with you, book a free discovery call. Head over to mrsmummyphd.com/coaching, book your free call, and let's get the conversation started. That's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please share it with another scholarly mama you know. As always, mama, I am sending you so much love and so much gratitude. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. And if you did, and you want in on this movement, please head over to mrsmummyphd.com or scholarlymamas.com. If you want to do your PhD well without sacrificing yourself or those you love dearest, then you need your hands on my free training called the PhD with Purpose Maminar. When you join us inside Scholarly Mamas Explore, you'll get access to this free training and so much more. Remember, mama, these are our journeys of becoming.